Welcome. Welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Abby Ritchie, and you can find me here on Foresight TV every Tuesday interviewing innovators in the senior living tech space. Now, before I introduce my special guest, I just want to tell you, if you still have not purchased your tickets for the Evolve 2022 conference, you can. You can still go to the Senior Living Foresight website and purchase your tickets, because if you want to be able to add quality life enrichment to your residents, you can do that. And this conference makes it 100% possible for you to be able to pop in, get some learning, get some teaching, and then get right back to work. And that is at the Senior Living Foresight website. You can go there and purchase your tickets. And Evolve 2022 has been made possible by our wonderful sponsors. We've got Photavia, we have It's Never Too Late, Care Center Stage, Sirona TV, Quilt, Total Brain Health, and Pocketbook Memory. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the show, and I'll be right back. Well, I want to welcome to Tech Tuesday my special guests today. I've got Joe Hausch from Photavia and John Wright. And now I'm going to allow you two to introduce yourselves. Go right ahead, Joe.
You said everything right. I am Joe Hausch from Photavia. I'm president, CEO, and chief creative officer. And my good friend John Wright can talk about himself.
Yeah, hi, I'm John Wright. Everything's correct there as well. I'm with Tranquility Lifestyle Solutions, also Sanus Lifestyle Solutions as well. And we provide technology and engagement tools for the senior living industry.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. I know Joe felt that it would be a great addition to our interview today to have you on, because you are knowledgeable on a firsthand basis with how Photavia is impacting residents. So before we do that, Joe, could you go ahead and explain what is Photavia? How did you find it? And what do you love doing with this?
Great questions. I met our founder in 2014, and he used to own a gallery in the Milwaukee area that featured images from the Life Picture Collection. He got very close to it. He had this idea for Photavia. I met him, and he needed some help with branding and developing it. And I thought it was a pretty cool idea because of some work I had done in a not-for-profit in the late 80s and early 90s. I learned about art therapy and the power and impact of elements like old suitcases or old photographs, skeleton keys, things from the past, and how they would resonate with folks of all ages, actually, but especially with seniors, and how they would ping memories and whatnot. So I got involved, and we started developing these movies. We call them VClips. They're short 2-minute little pieces, documentaries, and we signed an incredible deal with the Life Picture Collection. So we got access to over 660,000 images to tell stories. And so that's kind of where we started. And we actually started, I was listening to Jill in the Evolve show just prior to this, and she talked a little bit about disruption, and she talked about coming from the hospitality background. Well, actually, we started in hospitality. We started showing our content in high-end hotels, and we kind of pivoted then to healthcare and senior living, memory care, and Alzheimer's. And we found that we were just doing some incredible things. And we met a woman named Pat Durham, who was the Activity Professional of the Year in 2020, I believe. And she was just brilliant. She's British, and she said, "Oh, Joe, she loved this stuff." And she tells me stories all the time. And John's heard plenty of imitations. I always do. She does she loves us, and she's done some incredible things introducing us to the market. So about 2015, she started working with us, and we've been live in some environments since then. So recently, we have developed a new product that John can probably talk a little bit about. We've taken it to another level. I would grab my little tool. We developed something called the Toolkit, which were other questions that surrounded what goes on in the VClips, so we could engage people even more at a whole nother level.
Oh, I see. So you play the e-clip and then it generates responses, and then there are questions that also continue this
Yes.
experience, not just as people are watching it, but afterwards, right?
You're right on target. Yeah, they're VClips, like a V, but yeah. So we developed then something from the toolkit, and those questions, it's called Fotavia. Kind of clever, huh?
Uh-huh.
So John can talk to you a little bit about that.
Yeah, welcome, John. Tell us about
you.
how you came in contact with Photavia.
Yeah, so I've been in senior living and technology for the past 21 years, and we've focused around ways to help seniors maintain their, lifestyle and independence for as long as possible, with the idea that the continuum of care starts in the home before community-based living sets in. So we came across Photavia and found it as a great tool to actually engage with individuals in a couple of different formats. So we look at Photavia as a great cognitive enhancement tool, because it's better than just that mindless, stuff that you'll see on TV and things of
Yeah.
that nature. It's actually a way to reminisce with relevance, we like to say. So the great thing about the cognitive enhancement portion with Photavia is it leads perfectly into Photrivia, which allows you to meet these folks wherever they are on their cognitive journey, at a moment in time that's relevant to them, and then ask them questions about what they've just seen, but then a life experience question that's followed up in there as well. So, for example, if you're watching the VJ Day 2-minute V clip, you might ask them a couple of questions about the sailor kissing the nurse, and then another thing about Times Square. But then you might ask them, have you ever been to Times Square? And some of the most amazing stories that you could never imagine come up, and they go into these 20, 30-minute conversations that you just really get to learn who this individual is at a very base level, which is what it's all about, really. So.
It really is. You two probably know I work with older adults, helping them with their technology. And anytime I'm in a situation where I hear that there's a story developing, maybe about their past experiences, I will sit down, shelf my agenda to hear what it is that they want to share with me, because it's really in those moments that you experience a part of them from their formal full lives. And so I just love to hear that the VClips exude, it comes out of them that way too. It's really beautiful.
John mentions VJ Day in Times Square. So that is a nurse kissing the sailor, and that is probably in the top 3 of the most iconic images of all time. So that was the first movie that we made. And just, I think it was 3 weeks ago, probably, John, we were at a facility and we're there, and 2 gentlemen walk up to us and we get introduced. And one of them is 97 years old, and he's known as the Colonel. And the Colonel was flying. I think he was in the Air Force. He was flying his fighter plane over Germany when he got the news that the war had ended. Yeah. So he knew exactly where he was when VJ Day, when that happened. And his friend helped tell the story. We learned about him in probably 3 minutes before we even got started with our show. But the Colonel had written a book, and this guy, it was incredible. So yeah, the stories that come out are amazing every time. Goosebump stuff too.
Yeah, I feel it.
And just to add to that too, Abby, I think one of the unique things about it is we're finding that, because Photavia offers such a broad format in a multi-generational, G-rated content, it really kind of encapsulates everybody. So if I'm a caregiver who's 30 and I'm working with somebody who's 80, we may both love sports, for example, but there's a way to bridge that gap that's meaningful and impactful to both people. So it helps create that bond and that relationship in a very unique way. We had a life enrichment coordinator say to us on one of these visits, okay, just to let you know ahead of time, I'm not sure who's all going to stay. A few of the guys usually leave early. This guy will leave early. Because she was commenting to us before, like, most of the guys don't stick around for activities. And they were 2 of our most vocal people there. They stayed for the entire thing. They were completely engaged. And even at the end of it, she was like, I am so impressed that this tool just grabbed everybody and really just had them working together, collaborating together. I mean, for these 2-minute V clips, we showed 4 of them. And we were able to come up with about an hour and 15 minutes of programming for this life enrichment coordinator. And it was just amazing to watch what happened. So, yeah.
I
We were
love that.
Yeah, we were scheduled for an hour, and I think they were kicking him out after an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So they had to go eat or something. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this just ties back into Evolve and life enrichment. What you think will work sometimes does and sometimes doesn't. And you've got to try a lot of different things to know what's going to work. And one thing that I found in the past couple of years doing Zoom workshops, as opposed to doing them in person, was that I had a lot more men, male residents, attend my workshops on Zoom than they ever did in person. They just felt so much more comfortable being able to do that. So, I love the fact that it's that you're busting through stereotypes, right? And that you're changing the perception of the event, and it's drawing a lot of people in for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, and I think that was what was kind of curious when we heard that, the guys, one of the guys in front next to the colonel ended up doing an interview of this other woman, basically. They found out that she had worked on a farm in the middle of Wisconsin and that she had 20 cows, but she had to finish milking all those cows before she would go to school in the morning.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So he leans over and says, "So how many days did you miss school then?" And it went on from there. And that's the stuff. It just makes you smile. And what was also really cool is we asked the activity professional, "So did you know that she was from Tigerton, Wisconsin?" And she was like, "Did you know that she had 20 cows?" So all these little details came out. So now they can have better conversations.
Absolutely.
Now that we're gone, or we pulled that out somehow. So that was brilliant.
Yeah, I love that. We got a couple comments here, and how the power of images really helps with memories and in memory care. I just think it's phenomenal because you never know what's going to elicit a response, right? And how do you possibly do that in 2 minutes, Joe?
Well, that's a great idea. I guess part of the formula was we were trying to take these older images, static images, and bring them into a new medium of video. So some of these images we focus on are from 1936 to roughly 1990, which was the heyday of Life magazine. We can get access to newer ones, and we are skewing a little bit newer now as the population's getting a little, younger, I guess. So the images are old. Some of them are negatives, and they're deteriorating. So it was an original idea to kind of save these images and bring them back to life, if you will. That's my internal, bring life back to life. So that's my internal drive. As we looked through them, we wanted to treat them like they were in an art gallery, right? So at first you see the image, then you see the person who took the photograph, where it was photographed, the date it was photographed, and anything else pertinent. So we're treating it like it's in a gallery. And then we kind of do this visual description with large white type on a black background so that we're in as inclusive as possible. You almost don't need closed captioning because the lettering's large enough to read. So if you're sight impaired or hearing impaired, we have a voiceover as well, along with original music in the background. So kind of the whole, what should I say, the whole schematic behind it is planned. We get some snippets of information out, or factoids, we like to call those. Yeah. We talk about something that was going on in the world. You get a zoom through of the image that the photographer never even saw. If it's up on a 80-inch screen or put on, in a movie theater, you see the grain of the film, you see scratches in the negative. It's amazing. And then we usually finish up with a quote from either the person who's in the photograph or maybe the photographer or somebody famous during that time. And it's kind of an uplifting, make you think moment, maybe make you laugh in a couple situations. And that's kind of our formula. So it's a tight 2 minutes, but it's paced at a pace that's a little bit relaxing. And that was all intentional as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, have you found that to be the case as well? That the pacing and the type and the voiceover all attributes to a much more comforting experience?
Yeah, 100%. It's very easy to watch and very easy to follow along with. I don't think we've received any feedback whatsoever as it moves too fast or it's not bright enough or people can't grasp what's going on. There's a
Yeah.
lot of intention behind the scenes in the way that Photavia is developed just to meet those certain criteria, because we really want to give people an opportunity to immerse themselves specifically in the imagery and the reminisce with relevance, portion of what we're trying to accomplish.
We've been used to years, of advertising. Everything's getting faster. You watch editing and there's 50,000 images that we experience every day. So we just wanted you to, step back and take a moment in time and just, absorb it. So.
Yep.
So when you run this at your community, how do you promote it? How do you integrate it? Where are you typically showing this, in the theater room, for instance?
There's all different situations, actually. Some people, there's usually an activity room. So it might seat anywhere from 10 to 20 folks, maybe more. We've been running those. We've run in some, let's say, dinner areas. So that might seat 25 to 40 or more. And then there's a situation where we do have coming up that's probably going to be in a theater situation. And actually, there's some folks that are testing us out in California that have a 250 seat theater. Maybe or maybe not. They might be involved with the TV or motion picture business. I can't really say.
Right. Soon to find out.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, we do one-on-ones too in rooms as well.
Yeah.
Pat mentioned, and there's on our website, you can see it, but Pat talked about when she gets people in a bit of a funk. And what? Then Pat said, well, when somebody's in a mood, Joe, sometimes I take them and I just bring them out of the group and I go to your website and we watch 2 VClips. So that's 4 minutes. And then she has a little discussion with them and their anxiety, they kind of calm down. They get back in a mood where she can return into the group. This is it, without medication. And that just that's one of those are those goosebump moments for me. And yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Abby, when you talk about a non-pharma solution to actually, get engagement, reducing stress and anxiety, Photavia is proving itself time and time again, and that's what we love about it. It's really just a different avenue to, find out who that person is and kind of get them calmed down and get them into something that's relevant to them. So.
And the caregivers and families also get involved too. Yeah. I mean, they have the same reaction. And now again, the conversations, everybody brings their own story to these things. If you're seeing a picture of a little boy playing marbles in 1937, it's going to relate to a game maybe you play now or that you did as a kid, and everybody gets involved.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've got chills just thinking about it because it's so hard to find something that's going to relate to so many people on so many different levels, even in a memory care situation. And I just think that that's so powerful. I'm curious, when you do begin working with a new community, do you do a needs assessment? Do you, try to determine which VClips are going to work best, or is it just like a program that's offered? Take it, you choose.
Yeah, so I'll run with that one, Joe. I mean, it kind of depends on what the community is trying to accomplish. So, for example, we'll look at the mix of residents that they have. That's great for independent, assisted, and memory care. But there is a 19-bed chain that we're working with here in Wisconsin, and they've got a program where they run a different theme every month. So we're able to look at the catalog of what Photavia has to offer, and then let's work that around what you're trying to focus on that month. So it just makes a ton of sense. We've got so much flexibility with our content. There's no limits to what we can do. And we're always looking for, give us some feedback. What would you like to see? That sort of thing, because it really gives us an opportunity to go back and kind of sharpen our saw. So make sure that we're providing the most meaningful content.
Yeah, I love that. Tell me, what are some of your most popular offerings?
Well, I think VJ Day always gets some conversation going. We've got MLK, JFK, Frank Sinatra gets some pretty I think even in Pat mentions in one of our other promo videos that Elvis usually gets people doing a little bit of something, even though there's not Elvis music in the background, but it brings back that kind of sound. So people respond to the stars and sports things. We just added Vince Lombardi and Hank Aaron and a Wilt Chamberlain piece. So the sports things usually do pretty good.
Yeah.
And where do you see this heading? What are your ideas for extending this program and this offering?
Well, Photavia, as mentioned, that's kind of being tested right now. We have about, I think we have about a dozen of those completed at this point. The goal is to get to about 70 or so by the end of the year. So Photavia is something that we're really focused on. There's a couple of other things we have up our sleeve, a faith-based kind of piece, and then also another one that's kind of based on images from National Geographic, a photographer that's really, he's photographed like over 12,000 kind of endangered species of animals and plants. And that may skew a little bit to a younger audience, but kind of the rule behind what we're doing is as long as it's educational, engages, and it entertains, we're going to do it. So it's skewed young, but I like to say we create stuff for ages 5 to 105.
Right.
And like John mentioned, everything's G-rated because, we can all get all kinds of junk on the, it's all out there. When we started 7 years ago, we thought we were competing with, CNN, ESPN, game shows, especially in senior living scenarios, people will turn that on, but it's so much noise and it's so much, it's visual pollution. So we're the solution to the pollution out there. And
I love that. Yeah. Oftentimes I don't even turn on the TV because I know there's so much noise involved. Okay. I want to ask you a question that Steve Moran would ask. What's the cost?
Yeah. The cost varies. We put it together for individual units or community-based living. So it kind of depends on how you're going to purpose it. Joe alluded to it earlier. If there is, they're just using it in a community room, that might be, one cost. But sometimes residents want it in their room for when the family and the grandkids come over to watch it with them. Because the cool thing is they can watch it at home. Not everybody lives in the same state as their loved ones, so it's a great way to kind of, engage from a distance, but still do it at home. So it's customizable that way. If you're one person living at home or working with a caregiver that's working with you, we can price it out that way, or we'll just look at your community. Or if you've got 19 communities like the one that we're working with, that's a different program pricing there as well. So
right now, anyone can go on to fotavia.tv and you can subscribe. And there's various prices there depending on how much of the library you get. Some folks might only get 75 of the VClips. And right now we're just at about 275 is the larger end of the scale. So you can subscribe right now and see it. Also, for anybody who's watching, you can go to fotavia.tv/preview and you can watch 6+ free ones there. And I'm going to also tell you, this is kind of exciting news, that there's something called saltboxtv.com. And I don't know how many of your friends out there know about it, but it's designed with programming for older adults. So there's shows on there like I Love Lucy Show, Dick Van Dyke, The Three Stooges, and Photavia. So as of February, we were included in the offering there, and we have a limited number of shows on there. So there's probably about 15 that you can see on there for free. And that said, I got to mention our other sponsor, IN2L.
Yes.
Who, as of April 1st, announced that Saltbox TV is going to be their go-to channel for showing programming. So we're very thankful and very honored and privileged and happy to be involved with both those groups.
Likewise. I became familiar with Saltbox TV last year, and so if you're not familiar with it, you can go to saltboxtv.com. You can log on. There's no password. You could just get right in and start watching your programs. It's the first ever streaming channel for older adults with curated content specifically designed for older adults. So you can check that out. They've got a great offering, and kind of like what you mentioned earlier, G-rated, it's going to be memory provoking and comfort, and only programs that adults over 65 are really going to want to see, along with lifelong learning and documentaries.
Well, I think you can watch it with your grandchildren, and now there's something that you can actually turn on. So we're excited about it. And I forgot that you were there before we were. So congratulations. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful platform. And I love what they're doing, and I hope it really takes off.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great answer for streaming and for content, for sure.
You did mention one thing that is great. I think the fact that you just go on, you don't have to log in. So talk about not being scary or anything. And I think that some of the stuff that's gone on, tech has changed so much over the last couple of years. And John and I were talking earlier, and I really believe that the pandemic really helped force tech into these scenarios. And we're 7 years ago when we started, one of our concerns was internet speed, maybe showing visual, videos at a real high quality. But now, everybody's getting a little bit more. You have to have fast internet. Mm-hmm. You have to have it for every room. You have to have it available to the community. And I think it forced really some opportunities that I think are great for us, are great for communities, are great for the world, really. Yeah. To isolation and all that we were worried about, tech is going to be part of the solution.
Indeed. Well, I always like to ask this type of question, because as an entrepreneur, I know I try so many things. You just, sometimes you throw things at the wall, you see what sticks. Yeah. But no one sees that. They just see they just see the success, right? So in this process, I want to know what failed. What was something that you did that just failed? And what did you learn from that?
Failed. That's every day, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's every day. That's right.
This is kind of my sixth business. In my other hat I wear, I'm kind of the marketing advertising guy, and I've been involved with over 500 brands. So it's, boy, I don't know, John, you want to take that one?
Well, for us, and for Photavia and how it's put together, we really look at the business model. You have to have a product, you have to have a way to fulfill on the product, and then you have to have a way to sell it. So we kind of did it in reverse. Conceptually, we as a small circle knew it worked. The concept worked, but we developed an amazing product first. We made sure that we would always be able to fulfill. So now we're just getting the word out. I think if we would have done anything a little bit differently, we would have started selling the concept earlier. Would you agree with that, Joe?
But that's a real good one.
Yeah, I think we on the back end of it, the product's amazing. There's nothing like it out there. It's very well done, and there's multiple ways to get it. So fulfillment on the product for anybody who wants it will never be an issue. So now we're really just spreading the word. And Abby, this format's a great platform for that. So thank you.
Yeah, that is true, because it's kind of the opposite of all my clients. I usually am the guy in first, and I'm saying, we need to do this, we need to do marketing, you got to invest here, and the product's got to be good. Then with this company, we did, as John said, the absolute opposite. I was committing all dollars to doing production right, to getting sound, video, everything right, making the websites, developing the brand. So I guess that's it. But there's little hiccups every day.
Yeah.
And that's part of it.
Yep.
You just have to pivot and keep going and keep going.
Yep. That's right. I've learned a lot in the past couple of years about that pivot over and over. So any final words? How can people find you? How can people reach out to you to get more information about your program? Could you share that with our viewers today?
Sure. There's fotavia.net is our website that'll explain a different market, just everything about it. And there's also some previews on there. If, as mentioned, if you go to fotavia.tv, and that's PHOTAVIA.tv, you can check out some free things there, or subscribe and just give it a whirl. And if you want to write, joeh@fotavia.net. You can reach out to me. I usually answer the phone, and I'll talk to you too. If you have some opinions, ideas, we'd love to. If you're good at voiceovers and you want to voice over some of our things, hey, give me a call. We'll
Well,
consider it.
And to that point, Joe, I think one thing to manage, I don't know who's watching, but if you're a life enrichment coordinator or somebody who works in a community and interested in doing a movie night or a showtime thing that we do for these communities, we'll set that up for you in some formats. If you're local, great, we'll come in and do it in person, but we'll figure out a way to do it for you remotely as well. It's just a great opportunity to, I mean, seeing is believing in our world. We knew it worked, but nothing could compare to what we knew when we started out and doing these actual tours in these different communities. Just amazing. It's just amazing.
I think if you're in California or Florida or Jamaica, I think we could take a road trip right now from Wisconsin. I'm just saying, I'm looking more pale. I look at Abby, and I need to get out in the sun, I think.
Yeah.
So not so
Arizona.
much in the movie. Yeah, Arizona.
There you go.
That'll
Not
work
too
too.
far from California.
We have a lot of friends out there. That's a good idea.
Great.
Maybe that's where we're going next. But no, we can go to Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota. We can do shows around the Midwest right now. But we'll also could do a virtual movie night as well. So if you want to Zoom, we Zoom.
Yeah. Great. Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing what you're involved in and how it's changing so many lives. I love to hear it. And I just want to encourage you to keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And if you are still interested in joining in at the Evolve conference, you can go to seniorlivingforesight.net and get your tickets. All right. I will see you back here next week for Tech Tuesday. And I want to thank you all for joining me.